Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Mystic Show. My name, of course, is Boston Summer. And this week on the Holistic Mystic Show, we are talking about reparenting the inner rebel with Allyson Cora. She is a mental health therapist and a holistic healing practitioner. So, everyone, go ahead and say hello to Allyson. If you'd like to introduce yourself and just say hello, Allyson, you have the floor to say hello, and then I will ask you a few questions.
Sounds like a plan. First of all, thank you so much, Boston, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So, my name is Allyson Cora. I am a mental health therapist and a transformational life coach, and also an advanced Reiki practitioner. And one of my biggest passions with the work that I do with my clients and even myself is this deep inner parts work and working with those traumatized parts of ourselves and those protective parts and kind of getting them on the same page so that we can kind of grow into the version of ourselves that we want to be instead of the version we were forced to be. So I'm so excited to be here talking about the inner rebel today.
Wow, I just want to highlight what you said because that so stood out to me. Learning how to be the person that we want to be instead of the one that we were conditioned to be, or
Yeah.
whatever our conditions were as growing up. Like, we can still choose who we want to be. And I feel like from what you're saying, a lot of the work that you do is teaching us how to get there.
Absolutely.
So perfect. Well, my first question for you, my dear, is how do you define the inner rebel?
That is a big question. And if you hear a noise, just know that my cat, who's also an employee of the business, is taking on some side projects on for himself. So So the inner rebel. So first and foremost, before I kind of dig into talking about the inner rebel itself, I just want to let you know that while I'm going to repeatedly refer to my inner rebel as she, her, yours are going to take on an identity that mirrors your own. So the inner rebel is a fierce, protective part of you that rises up when your truth is being silenced. And it's important to note that this part is not here to destroy or self sabotage, but they're here to defend you. And this part tends to show up when you're being controlled, dismissed, or boxed in, when you've ignored your needs for far too long, and most importantly, when your authenticity is being compromised. And it's important to note that through societal conditioning and the way that we are raised, we are taught to fear the inner rebel, to silence her, to shame her, and to punish her. And I have found that the inner rebel is, in fact, this voice that says hell no when something just isn't aligned. Even if you don't consciously understand yet, that's her job. And so it's important to note that she is a part of your inner guidance system, and so, doing all of this inner work to allow you to have a beautiful relationship with her is important to get in touch with your intuition. And she is not the problem, she is the response. And she's the part of you that yells when something doesn't feel right or when nobody's listening. She might look like defiance, procrastination, overreaction, sometimes people pleasing burnout. She's like a smoke alarm. She's loud, she's insistent, and sometimes even a tad annoying, but she only goes off when there's something burning beneath the surface. And so the inner rebel is just an internal protector. I like to call mine an instinctual fire or a piece of sacred resistance. And through the work that I've done with clients and my own inner shadow work, I have found that she does not need punishment. She needs to be reparented with compassion, curiosity, and leadership. And so I really want you and anyone else listening to kind of take away from this conversation knowing that the inner rebel shows up when you've been suppressing your truth. And she's trying to protect you, not sabotage you. And her resistance is often a sacred no to misalignment, control, and staying small. So just take away that she's not the villain. She's mainly the guardian for your authenticity.
Wow. Yeah. So, and a lot of the times, like, I think you kind of like like paraphrase that like the more you don't listen to her, the more she starts to scream. Like, hey, listen to
Absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. I'm sure we all have a time in our life where we can recall maybe in childhood or adolescence when, we didn't really feel heard, and that part of that inner rebel is driving the meat suit, and we feel like we have to rebel or stand up for ourselves because it just doesn't feel fair. Instead of maybe labeling that part of ourself as unruly or whatnot, it's important to allow that part of us to have space because she's trying to tell us something that just doesn't sit right with us. And so, this whole process of getting to know your parts and reparenting yourself, it's essential in order to become a new version of yourself that doesn't live in those old programs.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know what parts is, can you just talk a little bit about that?
Mm. Absolutely. So when I talk parts, this is coming through the language of internal family systems or IFS. And so for people who maybe don't have that personalized experience through therapy or other types of coaching, with IFS, there are typically two main categories of parts. There are the traumatized, exiled parts of us, and then there are the protective parts. And then there are two different types of protective parts, right? We've got the parts that are hypervigilant and they kind of preemptively try to help us cope with, future things that might happen. And then there are the firefighter parts of us that kind of come in and everything is in chaos. We're trying to cope with something in the moment while we're triggered. And so those parts of us, they have good intentions, but sometimes it can feel like they're against us. And so this inner rebel is one of those protective parts, and so that's kind of what we're digging into today.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and it can be a whole rabbit hole, but it's really important work. And so I'm curious, like what's inspired you to really kind of focus down to this inner rebel? Like what has inspired your work around in the inner rebel? And what has how did you come to see it as something to reparent rather than fix or suppress?
Oh, such an important question. Honestly, I feel like my aha moments surrounding this part have come from my own inner work with my own parts. Because since learning how to use parts work with my clients, I've kind of taken it upon myself. I do a little bit of parts work every single day with my inner world. And the more that I continue to get to know different parts of myself and their good intentions and what they're trying to protect me from, and maybe even, the exiled parts that they themselves actually protect, it allowed me to, one, get a clearer picture of who I am and why I am the way I am. But it's also given me clarity and insight into how to better work with myself,
Mm,
because once you actually get like meet these inner parts, hold space for them and start to befriend and build trust with them, they start sharing more with you. And I've learned so much from my inner rebel. She has been there for me through thick and thin. And this is also a part of myself for a really long time that I shamed. That inner critic would come in thick and put that part right in there, right in her place. And I'm realizing now with the work that I've done that that's not fair to her. And that, this whole time she has been trying to kind of help guide me down the path of integration and healing this whole time. If only I would have known that I needed to listen to her and how I could best hold space for her.
hmm. Yeah, and that's really important to know, like we can work with these parts that feel like kind of wobbly or they feel like maybe uncomfortable to look at. And so I know you mentioned that you work with your inner rebel almost every day or every day. That's what you said. And so
Yeah.
what does that look like?
So I feel like to best answer that question, it might be good first to define maybe reparenting, because
Yes,
that's
go
kind
for
of
it.
like the umbrella of what I'm doing a little bit each day with that part and the rest of my own inner family. So reparenting, for those of you listening who've maybe never heard this term. So, reparenting, I define this as a sacred practice of kind of becoming the loving, present, and powerful caretaker for yourself and your inner parts that you've always needed and maybe didn't always consistently get when you were growing up, especially for the parts of you who have been silenced, shamed, or maybe left to fend for themselves. And so, in this process of tending to your unmet needs, you're meeting those needs and those parts with the compassion of the divine inner mother, but also the protective guidance of the divine inner father, with also the wise, grounded leadership of your own core self. And so all of this work is rooted in Jungian shadow work. So with this, the reparenting means kind of turning towards those parts of yourself that you were, taught to exile, the anger, the fear, the neediness, the wildness, your muchness, and saying, you don't have to hide anymore. I see you. I'm here and you belong.
Mm.
And so, through the lens of IFS and this Jungian psychology, reparenting is how we build trust with our inner parts, especially the ones that act out or shut down. And you learn over time with working with these parts to listen instead of shame, to soothe instead of suppress, and kind of step into this self led role of protector, nurturer, and guide. And for those of you in touch energetically with those parts of yourself, this is kind of like this union of the sacred masculine and the feminine within you, bringing that together with the tenderness and boundaries, stillness and direction, and all of that can coexist in harmony. This is the reclamation of your inner authority and the moment that you realize that you are no longer at mercy to your past. And so all of this work, this reparenting, I find myself anytime I'm noticing a sensation in my body where maybe there's a decision that I need to make or something is happening in the moment and I'm noticing something doesn't sit right. Reparenting for me looks like like tuning into whatever I'm feeling in my body, giving it space, not trying to shame it away. I'm not avoiding what I'm feeling. Instead, I'm holding space for it and allowing it to speak to me and tell me what it is I need to know. And kind of by going in and doing that very intentional parts work, sometimes I'm intentionally talking like, oh, inner rebel, I know it's you. And sometimes I'm not sure which part is talking, and that's okay. But reparenting just involves holding that space, leaning into your own inner experience with curiosity and compassion, rather than trying to avoid what you're feeling or control what you're feeling or immediately rush in with a coping skill. Sometimes whatever you're feeling needs to be felt because it's communicating something important to you.
Mm. Yeah. How can you start to begin to pick up on, oh, this might be my inner rebel? And then like how would you, I mean, would you be able to walk us through some maybe tools to help support the inner rebel?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, and I consider this a precursor to maybe setting the stage to get to know your inner rebel and your inner parts. First and foremost, nervous system awareness and regulation is huge because I know I don't just speak for myself when I say most people, when they meet a new person, they don't immediately feel like, wow, this person is just such a trusting and amazing individual. I'm going to share my deepest, darkest secrets. You have to build a relationship with your part. You have to create a sacred space for that part to feel like they can trust you, to be able to actually communicate what they need from you. So that means that if you're living in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, all of these survival responses, then your rebel's going to show up because she shows up when your nervous system feels unsafe. But just because she's there doesn't mean she's present. And so it's important to make sure that you're actually doing the work to make sure that your body feels like a safe space for her to be not only there, but actually present with you so that she can communicate. I do have a couple exercises that I could show you, Boston, and for anybody listening, to help you get to know yourself somatically and also internally with that part.
Yeah, I would love that. Maybe I know you mentioned like the nervous system piece and how important that is. So yeah, I would love to.
Perfect. So the first exercise and tool that I would like to present, this is something that I call sensations before story. This is essentially tuning into what you are feeling in your body before you get in your head, creating a narrative and intellectualizing what it is you're actually feeling.
Mm.
Because if you're in your head, you're not in your body, and therefore you are not processing anything. So it is important that whenever a sensation comes up, whether it's an obvious emotion or just something uncomfortable, sit with the emotion in your body first. So in a brief step-by-step process, I can explain to you how you can do this. So step one, in the moment when you feel activated, I invite you to pause and ask. It helps to close your eyes, sometimes just to tune into your body if that's helpful, and just ask, what is my body doing right now? And where do I feel this in my body? This might show up as heat, tightness, tension, shakiness, any sort of sensation. It might be a racing heart, shallow breath. Just tune in. And then you can place, let's just say right now, for example, if I were to have been feeling a racing heart and a lot of heat maybe coming off of my chest, I invite you then to take your hand wherever you're feeling the sensation, place it on that part of your body, close your eyes because we want to stay present within our body. If you're watching now, I invite you to do this with us. Just breathe into that space slowly for about 90 seconds. I know that in the moment, 90 seconds is going to feel like eternity. If you don't have time to set a timer on your phone or your watch, just take some intentional time to just breathe into that space. Just notice what you feel. And now, out loud, because this is important, your inner system needs to hear this. Okay? Out loud, repeat after me. It's okay to feel this.
It's okay to feel this.
My body is trying to protect me.
My body is trying to protect me.
And you can just repeat that phrase as often as you feel like you need to. It's okay to feel this. My body is trying to protect me. And this, just talking to your inner system and tuning in like that, creates a safe enough space to where your inner world knows that you are giving your full undivided attention. You're not distracted. You are showing you are worthy. You are allowed to be here. And I know you have good intentions. I'm not trying to shoo you away. So this is a really great practice to do to kind of ground you into your nervous system before you start intellectualizing, keeping yourself from any actual healing benefit from feeling your feelings.
Yeah, and I know like for me when I was really new to this work, even just like becoming aware of the sensations was really kind of nerve-wracking in itself. And so I just had to learn to be patient and to just keep trying.
Absolutely. And it all boils down to awareness. And this can be a practice. Even if once a day, once a week, even if you want to start out, if this is completely new to you, set yourself a very tangible goal for yourself. I'm going to spend at least 1 minute a day tuning into my nervous system.
Mm.
And over time, just slowly start 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you are more consistently aware and in body. So it makes it a lot easier to do that process naturally rather than like, oh, this is something I have to intentionally practice.
Yeah, the self check-ins are huge. They literally just help you to become like so aware. Like that's one of the first things I teach my clients is self check-ins. And it seems so simple, but it's so easily overlooked when you're busy running around, your to-do list, you have kids or things to do or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And I would love to share a second exercise that is incredibly helpful to actually get in touch with that part of you.
Yeah,
So
sure.
this
So like the
is
first
an
one was like trying to connect, and this is okay, now we're connected. Now what?
yes, exactly. So now that we've created a safe enough, calm space within, now I'm going to guide you through a very brief version of an exercise that I typically do with my clients who dig in and do this work.
Yes,
So
please.
this is naming and befriending your rebel. So, this is with the disclaimer. If you do not have a very vivid imagination, this may be difficult at first. The more you practice this, the more vivid your imagination does become. So, don't give up hope if you can't perfectly execute this, because I want to reiterate, reparenting and doing this work is not about perfection, it is about presence. So, if you are trying, you are doing the work. So, to get to know your inner rebel, I want to invite you now to close your eyes. Just take a deep breath into your body. And I want you to picture your inner rebel. Where is she in your body? What is her posture, her energy, her expression? Just take a moment and just see if you can formulate a visual to the best of your ability of what your inner rebel looks like to you. Maybe just take mental note as to what age they appear to be. And now I invite you to ask your inner rebel gently, what are you protecting me from? And just allow space to hear what they have to say. And ask your inner rebel, what do you need from me right now? Whatever you do as you listen to your inner rebel, don't fix, don't argue, just listen. And once you've had a chance to hear what she has to say, thank her for showing up and let her know that you are willing to learn how to lead with love. And maybe let her know that you'll be back to chat again soon. And now, whenever the moment feels right, you may open your eyes and come back to the show. So that, as I said, is a very surface level, very introductory version of the exercise I typically do with clients. But anybody who's watching, if you had any insights as to what your inner rebel is protecting you from or what they need from you now, I want to invite you to write that down. Write that down, because as you begin to dive into this work moving forward, these insights that you got today are going to be the catalyst that just get the ball rolling, that are going to help you continue to build your relationship with your inner rebel. And that's where the real deep inner healing starts happening, because step one of healing is having the knowledge, right? The awareness of all the things. But the next step is actually integrating all of that and embodying all of these insights in your day-to-day life. So write that down.
Yeah,
So this
even
helps you
that
start.
short. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this just helps you start building that relationship, because you can't do this work without it.
Yeah, even that short exercise was really like eye-opening and just like gives you a
Mm,
great place to like narrow down on and focus.
absolutely.
We have Leah in the comments saying starting slow is such a good suggestion. I feel silly when I am out of control. So taking it slow helps me accept myself even when I'm feeling so upset.
Mm, absolutely. So much of the way that the world we live in is pushes us to go, 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 go. We always have a to-do list and things to do and this, and all of the hurry keeps us in our head, which keeps us out of our body, which keeps us from actually integrating and embodying the work that we're doing. So absolutely take everything as slow as your body is telling you you need to take it.
Yeah, I mean, because even doing this work will definitely bring up very unsafe, uncomfortable feelings, and that's why it is really important to be working with a practitioner when you're walking down these things, and you knowing and just knowing like you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
my last question for you today, well, second to last question, my dear, is what is one piece of advice that you'd give someone on wanting to start working with their inner rebel?
Mm, don't be afraid. As you begin to do this inner work, I'm going to let you know now it's really uncomfortable. It Healing is not rainbows and butterflies and skips in the park all the time. And as you begin to work with these parts and get to know them and understand their motivations and what they're protecting you from, your inner rebel is only one part. All of us have an entire system of parts within. And as you begin to get to know these different parts and do this work, you're getting in touch with a lot of the traumatic and painful experiences from your past. And it's going to bring up a lot of emotions, but this is such a powerful space to be in, revisiting these painful, hurtful memories from a space of awareness and intention, and perhaps a regulated nervous system, because now you get to go in and face the emotions that maybe your system didn't feel ready to process and sit with back in the day. And you actually get to hold space for them, just as you would your best friend. And what better way to start loving yourself than by actually holding space for all of your own stuff?
Mhm.
So don't be afraid of the work. It's uncomfortable. I'm telling you, while I am in no way a healed person, I am still healing even as a practitioner, because I firmly believe that there is no end to this healing journey. I will say, though, that with the work that I myself have done thus far, it is so worth it tenfold. So don't give up on the journey, even if it starts feeling hard, because it's supposed to. If it doesn't feel hard, you might not be doing it right.
You might not be going deep enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like one thing else to share is like this is how we rewire our brains by going in, working with these parts, by holding space for them and making sure that they have a voice and they need to be listened to as well. And especially like all those things that came up even from that short exercise that you did, like make time for that. You're saying like make time for that, like check in with those things that come up. And so how can people connect with you or go deeper into this work?
So anybody who is listening, who is interested in diving more into their inner rebel or any of their other inner parts, you can reach me through my email, which perhaps Boston can relay in actual text, but it is
Definitely.
my business name now, and Zen Holistic Healing at gmail.com. Or you could also reach out via text to my work number at 574-213-2667. And I'd be happy to maybe set up an Ascension call with you, which is just a free 30-minute call where we can kind of discuss where you're at and what you are interested in exploring about yourself. We could see how any of my services fit what you are looking for, and we can go from there. I'm very passionate about this work, and I really hope that at least this about 30-minute segment has maybe sparked a little bit of inspiration in a few of you to start doing some of this inner work.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience with before we close out?
Mhm. I want to end with the big why. Why is this work so important? I don't know if you all know this, but generational family trauma is said to go back in your lineage at least 7 generations. So when you begin to heal this relationship with your inner rebel and your inner system, you stop passing down these cycles of control and shame that have lived within your family for generations. This work is huge. This work ripples out not only to our families, but also within the workplace and our community. And when one person, even if it's just you, stops shrinking, it makes it safer for everyone else to feel like they can stand taller too. And so I want to invite anyone who's listening to give yourself permission to be the most confident, unapologetically authentic version of you possible so that other people can see your light as the beacon that it is, maybe finally for the first time in their life feeling free enough to be themselves because they saw it was possible because of you. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you didn't stay silent. So reparent your rebel and let's just see what the heck happens next.
Oh my gosh, I got chills. Yes. It's so crazy to think like even us just focusing on healing ourselves is going to A, create change in our own families, but B, just those people that are around us. Maybe your friend is silently suffering and you have no idea, and that's going to like give her permission to either A, speak up and find help, or B, to be brave enough to do that work herself or himself or their
Exactly.
self.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Allison. I will
Yes,
definitely
thank
put in
you.
the show notes how to get in touch with you. I'll put your email and your phone number on there, your work phone number. Um, thank you. I feel like this work is so important, and generational healing is very important to me too. So it really just touches a spot in me to really make sure that we're out here and letting people have the avenues to focus on how to heal themselves. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of course. Thank you so
Um,
much for having me. Very
you're
grateful
so
for this opportunity to share a little piece of what I'm most passionate about.
you are so welcome, my dear. And I will see everyone else on the Holistic Mystic Show next time. Until then, go out there and share your light with the world. Namaste.
Bye.